everybody, and welcome back to Mel's Board Game Room. So today I'm doing my top 9 games of all the games that I've played during the month of June. So before we get into that, we're just going to look at the stats. Let me get into the right place here. So in the month of June, I have played 45 times of 30 different games. Now, 25 of those games was during the MelCon weekend. So I always do a 3-day weekend around my birthday. At the Legion. This one was at the Acme Legion, and I got to play lots of games there. So good thing for that, because that did boost my numbers quite a bit. So 45 games, 45 plays, 30 different games, and it was over 8 days. I've only played 8 days in the whole month of June. That's crazy. And that was 2% of my base collection that got played. So let's get started with our top 9. So in number 9 position, I have Dragon Castle. So Dragon Castle is a mahjong tile game. So one thing I'll point out, this game does take a little bit to set up because you got to place all the tiles. So there is that as a drawback for it. But you have all the tiles. You got to draw tiles from the top level, and you can take a tile that is the exact same tile from any other level if it has a long side that is free, so you can slide it out. So you can take those 2 tiles and then you add them to your little player board. And you're trying to create clusters. Now, as soon as you create a cluster of 4, you have to stop, score those tiles, and you flip them over. So you're trying to create different little clusters to connect them to create a bigger cluster so that you can score bigger. Once you score them, you flip them face down, and then you can also add on to the upper level of that. So some tiles that you place, when you kind of claim them, you can put a little roof on it. And now that roof will block that location. You won't be able to put tiles on there again, but it's going to score points for the little roof. But the higher the level of the roof, the better the score. So there's that to consider. It's a really fun, neat, puzzly game, but the components are so nice and chunky and super satisfying to play with. So that is my number 9, Dragon Castle. In number 8 position, I have Unscrewed. So Unscrewed is a game that was kickstarted a while back. And it just delivered in the last few months here. And it's such a fun, whimsical theme. So you all have a cartoon character and you're all on the same network, but the network is dropping all but one cartoon. So it's a battle to the death to be the cartoon that remains on the network. Each round, the board's going to shrink, and during your round you're going to be placing 3 action cards. So it's a programming game, but other players might be kind of pushing you or kind of causing you to move, and the program you originally planned might not work. Or also there's improv cards, which was like, you know what, I don't know what's going to happen, but let's see what I get. And then you kind of randomly draw a card that's going to apply something to the board. It's chaotic and mayhem. This is an elimination game, so you're trying to be the last man standing. It plays quick, like 15 to 30 minutes most, but it's just really fun. And that's my number 8, Unscrewed. In number 7 position, I have Nova Luna. Nova Luna is just such a satisfying little puzzly tile laying game. So you're going to be moving around the board. You have like this little sun, kind of crescent moon that's going to go around to show where you can pick from. And you can pick anywhere from the next 3 tiles in front of that crescent moon. So when you take the tile, you're going to add it to your little board. And on there's going to be color dots. And those are like colored clusters you want to be touching. So if it has 2 of the same color, you want to touch a tile or 2 tiles or a tile that has a cluster of that color. And once you complete that, and then that tile's touching those, then you can place your little token on it. And this is a race game. So you're trying to be the first one to get rid of all of your tokens. So you're trying to create these clusters so that you can meet the goals on each tile and then kind of cover them up. When you draw a tile, there's a number on that tile, and that's spaces you're going to need to move forward from where you collected. So you move the tile to where you collected. If its tile has a 4 on it, you're going to move your token 4 spaces. And it's whoever's in the back is the next one to go. And so if you move like 7 spaces, it's possible other players will take multiple turns before your turn comes again. So it's just really neat, super satisfying. Really like this game. And that's my number 7, Nova Luna. In number 6 position is Pandemic Hot Zone North America. I'm a huge Pandemic fan. I just like how that game works, how it all comes together. I think it's such a cleverly designed game. I had friends over and they had never played Pandemic before. So we played this one, the Hot Zone North America, because it kind of streamlines it a little bit. It plays exactly like Pandemic, but it has one less disease. It has a smaller map, so it plays a little quicker. And being that this was an introduction game, it was a perfect way to introduce it to them. And they were a big fan. So we died the first round and they're like, okay, that was cool. Let's do it again. So we played it one more time. And here's a picture of it. So we played it one more time and it's neat. It's a cooperative game. You need to go from location to location trying to cure some of these disease. But each round you're flipping card that's going to spread disease. And if you ever get 3 cubes in one and then the 4th one gets added, it doesn't get added, but it caused a disease to spread. And you're going to need to go around and try to keep that under control. But every time you get an outbreak, I think it's called, so then that goes up. If you ever run out of cards, you lose the game. There's a few things that will cause you to lose the game. And I think both times we did, but we did get close the second time. So super cool game. My number 6 is Pandemic Hot Zone North America. In number 5 position is a newer game that I got this year, and that is Finspan. We played it a couple of times, and it got played quite a few times at MelCon, and I introduced it to some of the new players. So this is part of like the Wingspan trilogy. So we have Wingspan with multiple expansions. We have Wormspan, which is about dragon. Finspan's all about the fish. So this one by far is the quickest and easiest one to teach and learn. It's very simple. You have divers. You either add a fish to your board or you take your divers down and activate everything you can on the way down. And then that will allow you to either place a fish card or draw new cards or discard cards. And you can also gain fish eggs, or you can gain fish, or you can hatch those fish eggs into fish. And if you ever get 3 fish together, then these get swapped for a school of fish. And there's plays over 4 rounds. At the end of each round, you're going to have a different goal that you're scoring for. And at the end of the 4th round, you're going to activate your end of game cards, and then you're going to do the final score and score everything. Super fun. I find out of the Wingspan trilogy, this is the one that's most strategic and how you're going to move the fish, kind of relocate things. And it's super cool. I quite enjoy this copy, and that's Finspan. My number 5. In number 4 position is a game that I had played a long time ago, and I was so confused. I had like no idea, but I remember I think it was cool, but I don't know what was going on in that game. I found it at an auction, so I purchased it, and that is Minerva. And I got it home, eventually opened the box, and I have a deluxe copy. It has like metal coins, all the wooden components. It's amazing looking. And what's really neat with Minerva is you're going to be collecting tiles, and you're going to be adding these tiles to your board, and eventually these are going to cost resources. So you're paying the resource to add the tiles. Some tiles are free, which is great. So you do that. But then eventually you're going to need to place a residential tile so that you can activate these tiles, and you activate the row or the column going one of the 4th direction of where you've placed your residential tiles. So like, okay, well, I'm going to activate this here. So you collect your resource. Now you can purchase more stuff. One thing to keep in mind, though, is that residential tile stays there. Now, you can eventually trade to get assistant, and you can place an assistant on a residential tile to activate it one more time, but then that's it. So you can always activate those tiles again going from the other way, but then you will max out. So eventually you need to start branching in columns and stuff and then activate things differently. So you kind of really want to strategize where you place the tiles, how you're going to activate it, try to get the maximum resource you can. to get the most point as possible. But it's such a fun, interesting, puzzly little tile game. And the second time around, I understood what was going on, which was a huge bonus. Knowing what you're trying to do in a game is very helpful, turns out. So that was my number 4, Minerva. In number 3 position is Heat, Pedal to the Metal. I bought this game in November, I want to say a couple of years back. And it was, my friend Lyle was teaching it, and there was 2 other guys, so all 4 of us. And Lyle was the only one who owned this game. But before this game was over, all 4 of us owned the game. We were so impressed. We kind of paused the game, went and bought the game mid-game. So this is a car racing game. It's a deck building game. And you can kind of control what gear you're going to be in. You're going to play cards to move your things, but then there's corners, and you can't get into the corners with too much speed, or you're going to take some heat. And the heat is like cards that you have over your engine. And because your engine's overheating, you add the heat to your discard pile. Now, if you ever run out of heat, then you're going to spin out and you kind of lose momentum, and then you have all this heat in your hand, which really only just clutters your hand, so it slows you way down. It is such a fun game, and we had played it with new players that had never played it before, and it was a hit. And I forget, like, you forget when you don't play a game how great this one is. And then playing this one, I was like, oh yeah, that one is such a good game. So that was my number 3, Heat, Pedal to the Metal. Then in number 2 position is Civilization, A New Dawn. So I'm a fan of Civilization. Now, where A New Dawn is great is it plays considerably faster. We played a 4-player game, and it was played between 1.5, 2 hours. So it was pretty quick considering. Mostly because my friend had to leave by 3:30, so we're keeping a track of the time. But this is a Civilization game. You start with the map. This particular one had an expansion that allowed you to explore, so you could add more to the map. When I played this game with just a base game, the map was set. But you're adding you start with your capital city, but you can add more cities. Once your cities is surrounded with your stuff, then it can generate more stuff. But where this game is so interesting is in the action selection. So everything that you can do, whether you go and explore, whether you send caravan out, whether you add cities, or if you're going to add tokens around you, or if you're going to, kind of concentrate on the science or whatever, different things, or the technology, you're going to be having a card that kind of does that. But you have them from 1 to 5, and each of the numbers 1 to 5 has also a type of terrain associated with it. So if you're going to build a city, but it's in the number 3 position, then you're not going to be able to build in the mountains or the desert because you don't have it high enough to be able to access those type of areas. Now, if you're going to do the military and you're at a 5, well, now you're at the strongest strength of your military. So it's best to kind of have that card at that location before you activate it. Now, as soon as you activate a location, no matter where it is, it slides down to the 1 position. Everything shifts up. So it adjusts the values of the actions that you can do. Then when you do the technology, if you reach a certain level, you upgrade your technology. So you take one of the cards and you replace it with the next level card that gives you a more powerful ability as well. So it really is a neat spin on a Civilization game. It's super satisfying to play and play so quick. It's just great. So that is my number 2, Civilization, A New Dawn. Then in number 1 position is Galactic Cruise. We ended up playing this one on the Friday of Malcon. And on Friday, I didn't play very many games. This one is a longer game, so it kind of ended the evening. It's also a long teach, and I was playing with a new player. So, but as far as like this is a long teach, it is well designed. You have the iconography on the board that kind of well describes what you need to do. You have a little player booklet. That's your player aid. But it's a whole booklet. But if you're like kind of flipping, okay, this is what I want to know about. Perfect. Okay, I need more information. It tells you right on the booklet which page to go to in the rule book. Says, if you want to know more about this action, just go to page 21. So, oh, perfect. You go to page 21, the information is right there. So the game is so well designed in the way that it's put together, the rule book, the storage. Wow. But then the gameplay is so satisfying. You're going to be building these ships. Once you're building the ships, or as you're building the ships, you're also going to kind of book this cruise that you're going to invite people to go on. And then you can kind of pre-sell tickets for those as well. And then when you have everything you need, the ship is built, you have your guests kind of lined up, and then you have the oxygen to, for every room that you have on your ship, you have the food to feed the people while they're gone, and you have the fuel to make the trip and back, then you can send them on the trip, and you're going to launch this out. And every time you launch, you get to put a little cube in the marker that's going to help with scoring, and also kind of keep tracks of the different era, because you're going to play over 3 phases. But it's a worker placement. So you're going to be placing your scientists on the board to build the ships, to get the blueprints, to turn those blueprints into the route, to add them to your spaceship, to all do all these things. It is such a satisfying game to play. Yes, it's overwhelming to look at. It's a long teach because there's a lot to know, but once you understand how the game plays, it's really straightforward. So I really enjoy that. And that was my number 1, Galactic Cruise. So here's a recap of the top 9 games for the month of June. And here's another look at the stats. So 45 plays, 30 different games. 12 of them were new to me. I have played with 32 different people. And that was all over the course of 8 days. That's kind of interesting. Dylan Coyle was my top. Dylan Coyle, Hisashi Hayashi, and Tony Miller was my top designers that I played. I don't even I'm not sure which game they're associated with. Most of the time, Reiner Knizia or something like that is up there. And here's a quick look at all the games that I ended up playing this month. And here's some more. So it was a good month. July is shaping up pretty well. We just had a couple of game days, and I've played 15 days just this weekend. But if you want to follow me on Facebook, be sure to follow me. My Facebook page is Mel's Board Game Room. I'm also on Instagram at Mel's_boardgame_room. I also have a podcast that I do with my friend Carla called The Board Game Specialist, and my YouTube channel is Mel's Board Game Room. So thanks so much for tuning in. Bye, everybody.